Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm Kathleen Roberts. We have Robyn, we have Toni, Glenn, and Roger. So we're going to talk a little bit about that power of we. I love how Jake described that, the power of collaboration. And when Jake first approached this, I thought, well, I could talk about something that happened in work, work teams and working together with other people. But what really arose for me is the story that has the most profound impact on my life is my son's mental illness. I have an adult son with very serious bipolar disorder and anxiety disorder. And the process that arose out of the struggle of trying to understand and help him over the years was a very difficult and challenging time in my life. But fortunately, I became part of an organization called NAMI. That's N-A-M-I, that's the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And when I lived in California, I worked for a nonprofit. And fortunately, NAMI had a support group that met at our offices once a week. And so I was able to become involved with them and receive information and a lot of support. There was a group of family members and friends of people that had severe mental illness challenges. And I found that world of information, support, and strength. However, even more powerful was when I enrolled in their 12-week program, which was both for education and support. It was for family members of people with mental illness, and it was called Family to Family. The group setting of NAMI's Family to Family provided education about what is mental illness, mutual support and compassion from people who understood my situation and had years of their own experience. We shared our own experiences and challenges in class, openly and honestly, and received wholehearted support and solid information. And just for an example, when you are a family member or a parent or of someone with a severe disability like that, you really don't know. You blame yourself, that's number one. And then you don't know where it came from or what to do about it. And so what we learned, I remember the first day in the group, and number one rule or advice was you need to give up all of your dreams for your loved one. And that seemed very harsh at first. I have to give up all of my dreams for my loved one? Because we were very unrealistic. We were engaging in a lot of magical thinking. And so the only way to come to terms with the reality and how to really help the people that we loved was to give up that magical thinking and face the situation head on. Another thing that I received from this group is that I was not alone. I think that was one of the most important things. I was not alone. All these other people, maybe 20, 30 people in the room, had family members that they loved that were struggling. And they were struggling as well. And that's what we gave each other. We gave each other resources that we never knew existed. We gave each other support, compassion, complete honesty, and tears. And it was one of the most powerful experiences I have had. Our loved ones felt consumed by their mental struggles. And our job as family members were not to be consumed. We had to have our feet on the ground. We had to be able to hold what was true for them and for us with steady hands and steady feet. And NAMI was the organization that really helped me do that. It helped me grow. It helped me know how to find resources for my son. And it helped me to stay steady during this very long time. So NAMI provided for me solid ground to stand on. And it was the ground of shared experience, knowledge, resources we never knew about, acceptance and compassion. It was the solid ground of community. So whether you have experienced this particular challenge, I think we can all relate to the need to be able to share our stories without judgment and the solidarity of receiving encouragement from people who are dealing with similar challenges. And when it comes to sharing our stories, Aldea is a pretty great place to gather, share, and grow. For me, Aldea is a place where I can tell this story and have no fear of judgment or rejection. That's good, solid ground to stand on. It's a place where I can call for help if I need it, whether something physical like a ride or just someone to talk to. It's a place where I know if I have a good idea, I can try it out, share it with others. It's a place where I can be of service and also receive from others, where I know we have similar spiritual longings and creative ways of expressing them, so I can grow and learn from others. So just in closing for my story, I would say that the we of NAMI, for me, not only gave family members the resources, but they literally saved people's lives. So it's, I think this is the power of we.
Awesome, Kathleen.
Thank you.
Thanks for giving me a little insight into your world. I got some compassion from you, for you, from my mom too, in dealing with that. I'm wearing this shirt because I just came from the tennis courts called Acing Autism. So I just was doing sports with kids that are Sparkle. And so I'm Coach Toni, and my joy comes from teamwork and community, and mostly doing it with kids and having them have a play-based childhood instead of a screen-based childhood. And so necessary right now. And so when Jake asked me to come up here, and I was like, sure, teams are what I do. And then I started thinking about where I am in my life. And, there's the big team. There's Mother Earth and the aspen trees and the mycelium that all work together. There's the Holy Trinity, and of course I'm talking about Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman, and Scottie Pippen. And then, yes, and Dennis Rodman's daughter's name is Trinity, and she's an awesome rock star soccer player. So as we work together and become that tribe, that Trinity, I started thinking, oh, well, Jake is Ted Lasso and you guys are Team Richmond. Full on. I just see, maybe Beard somewhere out there, and Jake is got his team and he's just letting it flow, So here we are, of course, and here, and not blocking that flow. And wherever part you are in that, you guys are in the flow and you are the team. And so then I was also like, okay, so I've gotten some big stuff and didn't even know it was about we are building something, but we just got a bid to build a house, and it was a lot. And my partner's a massage therapist, and I'm a pickleball pro, and we're going to do both of it at our house. And so we're like, okay, we have to build this. They will come to us. We will heal people. We will work with kids with Sparkle. We will heal with massage and play. And we're going to build it. So we're actually getting married next week. So that's my team. Thank you. So that's the ultimate team, is the partner, right? And then the team of our kids. And then the team of our family. And then the team that goes out from there to the juju you guys soak up when you're here on Sunday mornings. And then on top of that, I work for the United States Tennis Association. And they sent me this the other day, asking me to come be a coach developer for the United States Tennis Association to work with kids and teach coaches how to be better coaches. So that I'm like, honey, sorry, we don't have a honeymoon, because I'm going to Florida to go do this awesome opportunity. But my base is here in Tucson. And I'm just so grateful to have my different teams and to focus on where we overlap. And I think the biggest tool I've used is the Enneagram. So the Enneagram of sports, which looks like I'm a 7, and I had a 2 and a 3. And we're all in a room like this. And we're like, let's just put our name in the hat to host the Davis Cup tennis tournament with Novak Djokovic. And we're in Idaho. And we're like, why not? That's my whole life, like Forrest Gump. And the 2 was like, yeah, I'll organize stuff. We'll get all my people. And I'm like, big dreamer, 7, like, yeah, let's go. And the 3 was like, doing the numbers. And we did it. And we hosted the Davis Cup in Boise, Idaho. And we're just like, okay, next, what else can we do? So unless you do shine your light and step up and say, what else? What's possible next? Because more is possible, especially connection. So thank you, Jake and Ted Lasso and Team Richmond, to have me here today.
Thank you. So I've had the joy of getting to know a lot of you much sooner than I believe I would have, because I've been creating these pens with the names on them. But there's actually a very powerful story of healing behind these pens that I'd like to share today before I circle back to Aldea. About 17 years ago now, I was in the midst of planning my wedding. And we had daisies for our theme. And so I went online and I learned how to make these fabric pens. They're actually an enlargement of the tiny fabric flowers that geishas wear in their hair. It's an ancient Japanese art. And I practiced and practiced and practiced, and finally had about 50 of them that I carried in a basket after my wedding. That was the plan. So I was very excited to be planning my wedding. At the same time, my sister, that I loved beyond anything imaginable, had been diagnosed with lung cancer. And there was a very dire prognosis. So I was going through this year feeling such an incredible series of emotions, from complete highs of excitement to the lows of fear and sadness for what was to come from my sister. Thankfully, she was able to make it to my wedding, to stand beside me as my matron of honor. But a month after the wedding, she died. So I was newlywed, and I was curled up in a recliner at home in a fetal position with my new husband saying, honey, you've got to breathe, just breathe. And I just didn't quite know how to breathe without my sister on the planet. I became involved in a bereavement support group over time. And after a few months in that group, I thought, maybe I could create some memorial pins for people. I know how to do this. So I offered to people to bring fabrics from those they had lost, and people started to do that. They brought me shirts, they brought me skirts, dresses, and I started creating them for them. And I got a cotton fabric from my sister's favorite bathrobe, and then I had my mom's favorite shirt, my dad's favorite shirt, my grandmother's house coat, people I had already lost. I started creating these pens and wearing them. I just wear them everywhere to keep those people close to me in that way with those familiar fabrics. And one evening after the support group, the facilitator came up and she said, you need to start a small business. So I did that. I was in the community of Fernandina Beach, Florida, and the community around me, they were so incredibly supportive, because the friends I had made there knew what I'd been through with both the wedding and the loss, and they started to bring me fabrics. And a friend who was very savvy with technology created a website for me. And I learned that I think we all start to heal when we feel heard. And I thought, I can listen. That's something I can do. I can listen to people, and people were listening to me as well. And I could feel some healing begin. So I was creating these pens for a time, and then there came a time when I found myself more interested in bright colors or batiks and fun fabrics. And pens that center buttons that I now get from all over the globe to pop on these fabric creations. I found that once I started popping them on me, just the more colorful ones, I felt braver. I felt stronger. I'd put them on hats, tote bags, purses. And I would just, and it became so joyful for me to help other people to pop a little bit in life. I find sometimes women seem to want to go smaller as they get older. And just putting on a hat or something like that can make us feel more confident, more brave out there in the world. I love the meditations here, and some months ago, Kathleen did one with some words that have become my mantra. And basically, what I have changed those words a bit, that I say almost every day, especially in our world that is so fractured. My work is to be present, to be a light, and to lift up others. And it's like, this is what I can do, because when I make these connections with people and I help them to pop, I get to know them a little bit better. And it makes me feel good to be lifting up others. I think without that feeling of being able to give, to be a light, to lift up others, I'm not sure where I'd be today, because there was a time when I thought I could not survive without my sister. She was my anchor. And to be able to connect and have this community has been so healing for me. And then I found Aldea, and I came the first few times and put a plastic name tag on, and I thought, I wonder if I can find somebody who could make these buttons. So I found this wonderful woman in Atlanta who makes them for me. And now just online, we've become friends, and she makes them for all of you. And it helps me to get to know all of you. And through this whole process of creating this jewelry, it's just, and with this community now surrounding me, it helps me to continue to know that I can hold sorrow and joy. I can hold fear and peace and gratitude. So I'm so thankful for all of you, and I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Well, hello, everyone. Normally, I don't like to read from notes, but because I'm supposed to be brief, I decided I need structure. So this is, in a way, a story about myself and Mary, but really it's a story about Aldea. But I'll start back early, because very early on in my life, I just felt like an outsider. And I always wanted to belong, but felt like an outsider. So I was a paradox, because I became a non-social social worker. But, over time, I didn't even realize that unknowingly, I developed a lot of skills at keeping myself an outsider. And I did it in ways that looked good to other people. I spent time in my office with my clients every day, and I come home and spend time with my family, and then with a few friends that I had. But I never knew the feeling of being in community. And then COVID hit, and I closed down my practice, because in Michigan, pretty much everything closed down. I don't know what happened here. And I saw my clients online. And then, life has its turns, and Mary ended up having 5 surgeries related to breast cancer. And during that whole time, I went through that alone. And then a friend of mine invited me to join an online group that was established during COVID. And it was a group of people that met, like there was 100 to 150 of us from all over the world. I met some amazing people, developed some friendships. people I call close friends that I've never met in person. And we would meet, we would write every day and post it, and we would comment on our writings with each other. We had like ritual assignments, and then once a week we would meet with a fellow called Francis Weller, if you're familiar with him, in a large video group. And people would share things. So one of these assignments was to write a mythology about my life. Mythology, that was really a tough one for me. But I did that, and then he started asking people to present that, or a piece of it, obviously, not the whole thing, in the large group. And I sat back and I watched, and I listened in my expert not belonger. And then, one day I just volunteered. And I did not even know that Francis Weller knew who I was. But when I finished, he said, I don't remember the exact words, but something like, welcome me into the center of the village. And he congratulated on my decision to step into that village. So he apparently did know me. And I never forgot that lesson. So then, Mary and I moved here later, and I actively made the decision that this time I'm going to do it differently, and I'm going to become part of this village, this community. So we volunteered. I joined small groups. We brought in food. We were a greeter. And I wholeheartedly joined this community. And then, not knowing what Michelle's role was, I made the mistake of saying, isn't there anything more I can do? And next thing I know, Jake's calling me. The next thing I know, I'm on the leadership team. So it's quite a change to being an outsider. But it's been such a wonderful place for us, and we've met so many beautiful, caring people here. It's just been amazing. And then the next part of the story is that Mary's illness that many of you know about presented itself, the hydrocephalus of the brain, and it threatened to take her away from me. And during that long journey through the medical system and her surgery and her recovery, the people here were just so amazingly supportive. And not just the people that I had become friends with. I remember one time somebody asking me how I was, and it just was the last straw, and I started to cry. And this person just threw their arms around me and gave me a hug, and I didn't even know her. And it was so many people like that here that just gave us so much support. And then, prior to Mary's brain surgery, a group of people from Aldea got together and did a Zoom meeting with us. And it was the most amazing thing. These people offered us their prayers, their wishes, and just their spiritual and emotional gifts for us and for her particularly. And it was described as they wove a web of love that carried us into and through her surgery and her recovery. So now Mary's recovering, and here she is speaking to you about helping the community. So just Aldea has been so amazing, this community, and it's offered so much in terms of love, support, inspiration, friendship, during one of the most beautiful or difficult times of our life. Beautiful in a weird kind of way. So thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. The next time you are in Toulon, France, I'd like for you to take a moment, break away from the shopping that you're doing or the sightseeing, and look up, and you'll see Mount Ferron. Mount Ferron is a lovely mountain that looks down over this southeastern seaport in France. And it is about the trees on Mount Ferron that I want to share a story with you. But I need to give you a little bit of preface or prelude. In 1971, I had finished my theological training and had served the church for a few years in Dallas. When I raised my right hand and was sworn into the U.S. Navy Chaplain Corps, and every day for the next 20 years, I put on a uniform. My career progressed in a certain direction, and toward the end of the 20 years, I was assigned to a very large ship that carried hundreds of sailors, and when we loaded on Marines with their vehicles and tanks and a squadron of Harrier jets, it was quite a big town. As that USS Nassau was the name of the ship, and it sailed in the Pacific and in the Mediterranean. And when we were in the Mediterranean, we stopped at Toulon, France. You need to know that on a large ship, officers are often assigned collateral duties, extra duties. My primary responsibility was with the spiritual growth and development and resources for the ship's company and those embarked. But I was also given the assignment of tours officer and community liaison officer. So that when we pulled into ports, various ones, Marseille, Hamburg, France, and different places, and Toulon, it was my responsibility to look for opportunities to set up constructive outings, tours, and experiences for ship's personnel. It was an alternative to nightclubs and bars, as a matter of fact, but and it worked to a certain extent. I was approached by the the residents of Toulon, and told that if I looked up the mountainside at Mount Ferron, there was a large blackened area where a fire had occurred, a year or so ago, and that they had waited for an opportunity, and it had passed a number of times, to plant new trees on Mount Ferron. It occurred to me that it would be a wonderful opportunity for the sailors and Marines on my ship to meet with the sailors and Marines in the French community up on Mount Ferron and to plant trees. And we did. I was able to gather busloads of sailors and Marines, and we made the transit up the mountain and spent several days on our hands and knees next to our colleagues who are in the French Navy and Marine Corps. And we learned something remarkable about each other, remarkable things as we shared stories and had the community, and discovered that we did a lot more than just me, and that the community we established there was a very positive and wholesome and helpful network in later times. Well, it's been 40 years. I'd like to go back to Toulon sometime and see those trees and see how they have grown. It was a time of the demonstration of what community is really about. I want to add my personal tribute to the trees on Mount Ferron with these words. Excuse me, sir, it's plain to me that you're about to plant that tree. And I was just wondering if I might be a help in some way, because as far as I see, you're all alone, and planting a tree can be a two-person job. My dad used to say, there's strength in we, much more than simply being a me. If we join our efforts and work side by side, we can share the labor and share the pride, and when years from now, these lovely trees will reach to the heavens in a warm spring breeze. So, what do you say? Shall we give it a go? You hold the tree and I'll dig the hole, and we'll give it some water and fix it just right, and it will survive all the days and nights that come with the seasons on this mountainside. I can already feel a sense of pride. Planting one tree and showing that we is always better than a solitary me. Now, what's that? What do you say? This is not the only tree. Well, it's the only one that I can see. How many more did you bring along? Wait a minute. Let's make sure I didn't hear this wrong. 500 trees to fill the mountain space? Well, that's enough at our pace to keep us here for a month. So let me round up some friends of mine, and we'll work together, rain or shine, and we'll fill this mountain with lovely trees and prove the old saying, we is always better than me. And so we did. And the next time you pass this way, listen to what the mountain may say. They worked together side by side. They planted trees with joy and pride, and now the fruit of their efforts have grown and cover the slopes of lovely Faron. See how amazing life can be when we is valued more than me. It was a remarkable moment and a community that I will never forget. The next time you're in Toulon, would you look up at Mount Faron and say hello?